I'm working in the New Perspectives Microsoft Access 2010 textbook. I'm in Tutorial 7 and I'm picking up on page AC366. In this session, we're asked to take the contract report, this one, and make it look like this. Now, to start this, what I really recommend is that you read through the steps. What is it you're being asked to do? As you do this, on a copy of the report or on a piece of paper, circle or mark down the things that you're supposed to do. So then you know what you're supposed to do, and as you go through the steps, there really isn't any question on what the step means. For those of you who have an instructor who's very particular that your finished reports forms look exactly like the ones in the book, you probably want to listen to what I have to say here, but not perform all the steps exactly the way that I would. Because the author of this book tends to format reports towards the left side of the page. What I like to do is I like to use the entire page. You can see that the gray line here marks the margin of the page. So what I'm going to want to do is to spread the controls across the page so they go from margin to margin. So that's what I'm going to end up doing. Now we're ready to begin modifying the report. With my list in hand, I've been asked to change customer ID to cust ID, contract num to contract number sign, contract amount to amount. I've also been asked to reduce the size of the signing date and the start date. I'm not going to do that because I like the space between the columns and I've got lots of page. Also, the contract type field is not wide enough, and so I need to extend it. I've also been asked to remove the image, remove the alternate row color, add totals, resize the line, and I'm going to do all of this while staying within the page margins. I'm going to close out a print preview here. I'm going to close my example report, and we'll move to Layout View. In Layout View, you can see here is the page margin. You see this dotted line? That is the margin of this page as we have set. To see what my margins are, I'm going to go to Page Setup, and I see that I have half-inch margins all around the page. So in this 8.5 by 11-inch page, I have 10 inches to work with. I do not want to have any of my controls go past the page margin. If I do that, I'm going to end up with a blank page. I'm going to switch over to Design View and just show you what that looks like. So I'm going to come over to the edge here. Here's my page margin, and I'm going to grab one of my controls and I'm just going to bring it across the page margin. And we'll go to Print Preview, and I didn't pull it out far enough, so we'll go back, grab it one more time. There we go. That should do it. I'll end up with these blank pages, basically between every page of printed data. Close out of here, and we'll undo and undo and undo. I should be back where I started. While I'm here in Design View, I may as well go ahead and add my name because that's something that my students always need to do on their page. And I'm going to go to Controls, Label, and I'll go ahead and add my name, and I'll format it later when I get everything laid out. So I'm going to switch back now to Layout View. And let's just start through the process. Working from my list, I want to change Customer ID to Cust ID, so I'll take out the O-M-E-R. Be sure to leave the space. Contract num, I'm going to change the num to the pound sign. Contract amount, I'm going to change amount, AMT to amount, and I took out contract. I'm going to leave signing date alone, start date alone, and contract type. I'm going to grab it, and I can take it here or here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to pull it almost out to the margin, but not quite, because in a little later I'm going to spread these controls out. Now I'll go ahead and save that, and I'm going to go back to my customer ID, and I'm going to make the column a little narrower. I don't want to make it too narrow, because when I go to print preview, when it renders the report, the text seems to grow within these controls. And so I always want to make sure that I leave space for at least one extra letter within all of my labels, within all of my text boxes. Now I've got room for about 2 or 3, and that's fine. We've got plenty of room on this page. And I'll do the same thing to contract none. Amount, the book tells you to resize it, but if I resize it now, I'm just going to have to resize it again, because my grand total is going to be in the millions. So I need this space, and I also want a little space to create some separation between the controls. You see how these look like they're far apart, and this one's very close? If you stick with me for the next session, or the next section that I'm going to do of this, I will show you how to resize these and move them apart. In this section, we're just going to stick with the fundamental changes that have been asked for in the book. So now I'm going to select the image and delete it. Then I'm going to come out, and I want to get rid of the alternate row color. Easiest way to do this is to open up your property sheet, and I want to be able to see alternate back color here. If I get in the wrong place, I won't see it. I need to come just out to the left. Alternate back color, and I'm going to change it to no color. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Again, if you don't get it in the right place, you won't see that alternate back color. And I'm going to change that to no color. And I'll go ahead and close this. So far, so good. Save again. Next thing I want to do is I want to change my dollar amount here. So the format is standard. And we're just doing that because the dollar sign can be mistaken for an 8. And it's kind of standard in the financial industry, the accounting industry, that if you're going to use a dollar sign, that it goes clear out here, and Access is not formatted yet so that we can put in an accounting dollar sign. Maybe that will be one of the improvements we'll see in the next version. So we just take it out altogether. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and add my totals. So on the design, I'm going to find totals, sum. It's going to add a subtotal and a grand total. Let's go down to the bottom. We'll find the grand total. And see, I could have made this a little smaller. We will. And you also see that it's not quite tall enough. So I want to make it a little taller so that I can see the bottoms of my numbers and I can see my comma. Now, the book says we don't want the subtotals, so all I need to do is click on it and hit my delete key. It leaves the line behind, so I click on the line. See if I can get a hold of it there. And you want to make sure you get the cell, not that whole line like I had before. I want the cell. And I hit delete again. Not only does it delete the line, it deletes that whole row. So looking good. We'll save again. And now I want to resize this line so that it comes out and basically creates my page margins. I can do this in design view. That's how the book does it, or I can do it in layout view. I'm going to do it in layout view just to show you that it can be done here. Now, if I resize a line, normally I can keep a straight line if I hold press and hold my Shift key while I drag the line out. So you want to get your mouse pointer out to the end of the line, and you want to see that diagonal arrow. I'll hold down my Shift key and then click, hold, and drag, and I'm going to bring it out to the margin. Didn't quite get it, so I'll try it again. There we go. Got it. So even though I held my Shift key down, I still have a crooked line, and that's normally what happens. If you hold the Shift key down as you initially draw the line, you'll get a straight line. Holding it down while you resize the line, it will still end up usually crooked. It's easy to fix. Select your line, open the property sheet, and the height of a straight line is 0. So just change it to 0 and your line will be straight. I'll go ahead and save this again. I'm going to move down to the bottom, and I want my page number to also define my margins. So I'm going to grab it and pull it out. It's plenty long enough, and resize it. You notice that I didn't move it. When you're trying to move something in Design View, particularly something that's like in the page footer, sometimes it will jump sections, and it'll end up in the detail section or it'll end up in the report section. So if you just resize it instead of moving it, it actually is much easier to control. And I want to go ahead and modify my name, and the best way to do this actually is to switch over to Design View. And in Design View, I'm going to bring this in a little bit. My page is 10. That means the middle of my page is 5. So I want to take this, put it so that the sizing handles line up with 5. And if I'm going to line those up, there we go. I also want to center my name in that box so it's center, center. And then I'm going to grab these controls, and I'm going to go to Arrange, Sizing and Ordering, Size and Space. I'm going to size them to tallest, and then back into Sizing and Ordering, Align, and I'm going to line bottom. And I'll save it. Let's take a look at it. Still, because of the way that the controls are placed on the page, everything still is moved a little bit towards the left. But we basically accomplished what the book has asked us to do. And there's our grand total at the end. If you're interested in going on and seeing how to take these controls and distribute them a little more across the page, tune into the next video, and that one will be called Session 7.1 Alternate.